This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, so Conor Benn has done a sit-down chat with Piers Morgan. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it. It's coming out tonight, Monday, at 8 p.m. So we've heard a little bit of a clipping of what it is that is going to be said in this particular interview. Conor Benn has said this: "I didn't think I was going to make it through this period. I felt like I was on death row for something I hadn't done. I was taking it day by day. I didn't think I'd see another day. Yeah, I was suicidal." Conor Benn's statement. Now, whether you think he's taken something intentionally or you think that he hasn't, or maybe there was a mistake somewhere along the lines, whether it be he accidentally took something, or maybe he did overindulge in eggs, or maybe the labs were stitching him up, which of course is what we're led to believe from what Conor Benn is saying. Now, regardless of any of that, of course, people don't really think about what Conor Benn is going through. Conor Benn would have been going through hell. He would have been. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not he can afford to retire right now or not. It doesn't matter. The point is that when your reputation is hanging by a thread, when you've got people, even people that maybe you were friends with, saying, "I can't believe it. He's definitely taken something." Eggs? What do you mean eggs? Every time that you switch on your social media, there'll be some kind of abuse from somebody in boxing. Boxing news commentators, pundits, however, fans calling you a cheat. It's going to play hell on your mind. Now, bearing in mind, he's a very young man. He's got a missus, he's got a kid and whatever else. So he would have been going through hell. For sure, that would have ruined his Christmas. Now, people may say, "Yeah, but he's a drug cheat, he deserved it." Well, at the end of the day, it's whether he did, even if he did something intentionally, okay, it's wrong. For sure it's wrong. But he wouldn't be the first and he wouldn't be the last. People make mistakes, okay? I think everybody, and I think most people can agree, everybody's entitled to at least one calamity in their life. As far as I know, this will be the only one for Conor Benn. Now, when you go through Conor Benn's statement, now, of course, we haven't yet seen the Piers Morgan interview for more details, and I still don't know what the science is that Conor Benn was talking about some odd weeks ago. I'm still waiting for that particular answer. And, of course, how come it took 2 failed tests for action to be taken? Okay, but if we're to go by what I gather, which is that Conor Benn is saying that there were irregularities and things happening with the test that shouldn't have been. That's worrying. That's worrying. So if Conor Benn's telling the truth, and again, we can only take him at his word, okay? If the lab's been messing about, why would they be messing about? For what reason? Who's been getting them to mess about? Because again, as most people know, and if you don't know, I'll tell you right now, you have 2 pots, okay? You take a sample, you weigh into one, and then, of course, into the other one, okay? So that's 2 pots. Both are sealed. One is labelled sample A, one is labelled sample B. So it's actually the same sample, just in 2 different cups, okay? Taken at the very same time. They're sent off to the lab on, I presume, VADA. Not VADA, but WADA, okay? So VADA will pass it over to WADA, and they will do the testing. Now, to think about it, you open up sample A, that's always going to be tested anyway. So you test that one, and again, according to Conor Benn's statement, if I and many others read it correctly, and if it was wrote correctly, is a case of you're supposed to test it once, see what happens, okay, negative, everything's cool. You move on, you just disregard sample A and sample B because no reason to test sample B, okay? Throw them away, Conor Benn is cleared, boom, move on. That's what's supposed to happen. But as far as I'm getting the impression, they tested it, clear. Tested it again, still clear. They tested it again for a 3rd time, still clear. Didn't want to stop there, so they tested it a 4th time. Oh look, adverse finding. So you have to look at that and think, well, why did it take you 4 times to find something? 4. Now again, we do have to ask the question, how would Conor Benn know that? Because when an A sample is tested, There's no fighter, there's no representatives, there's nothing. It will just happen randomly at some point. Okay? So how does Conor Benn know it was tested, that the same sample was tested 4 times in order to get a contamination? Now, if they did do that, that's potentially closing the doors of the lab because they're tampering with samples. But regardless, they move on to sample B. Conor Benn requested that sample B get tested because it's the same sample, just in a different pot, just in case there's some kind of contamination with the cup, which has happened quite a few times. You test the B sample, so Conor Benn was allowed to send a representative. The representative turned up, and she wasn't allowed in. She didn't oversee the opening of the pot, the testing of the pot, or the results. Wasn't allowed, which is what led to believe against protocol. So something's definitely fishy. Like Conor Benn or don't like Conor Benn. Believe his story or don't. If what he's saying here is true, that's worrying, because how many times has that kind of thing happened where boxers have failed tests and they don't have the kind of money, the influence, the power to have done what Conor Benn has done? That they just have to go, well, how the hell did that happen? And now they're getting banned because they can't afford to appeal it. They can't afford to do proper investigations. They can't afford good lawyers to come out with 270-page documents. So that's worrying. Now, Conor Benn, to make him feel like he was on... Basically, he's saying that he feels like everything was finished for him. It's over. He's going to get sentenced very, very soon. And that's it, career over. Because again, as much as there was an issue with VADA, he's getting tested by UCAD. This particular substance is on UCAD as well. How come they didn't pick it up? But yet VADA picked it up twice. How come UCAD didn't pick it up? When it's on their list, I looked at their list, and again, if I read it correctly, of course, which is possible I didn't, okay, but if I read it correctly, for example, a rugby player can have this particular substance in his or her system, then they would get an automatic 4-year ban. So I'm going to presume that's going to be the same for all sports, right? Boxing, football, however. So Conor Benn could be looking at a 4-year ban. But they never found anything. And they tested Conor Benn right the way through camp. In or around the same times that VADA were testing him. And Conor Benn passed other VADA as well. So we're led to believe. So, of course, people don't really think about what he's going through, what his family's going through. Listen, don't worry about what Eddie Hearn's going through, okay? He's got a million and one things going on, okay? But what Conor Benn was going through, if what he's saying is correct about the lab, everything that he's gone through, his Christmas was ruined. He's supposed to be spending time with his family, ruined. A huge super fight, earning a couple of million, gone. Because somebody tampered with him. Who stitched him up? Hopefully they find out who stitched him up. Because whoever stitched him up, if they're license holders, they need to be removed. Locked up. Because you can't do that to people. It's unfair. But if Conor Benn has taken something intentional, and WBC just lost their bottle and come out with a whole contamination of eggs, even though their tests and their theories about how this particular substance could have got into Conor Benn would have been on their own recent studies, wouldn't they? From contamination of eggs. But that's in America and other places, not United Kingdom. We don't have these in our eggs, do we? So, anyway, it's going to be interesting to find out. I'm certainly going to be watching that Piers Morgan interview with Conor Benn. Hopefully we get more answers, right? Hopefully. But again, some people out there, it doesn't matter what Conor Benn does, he can come out with video footage, he can come out with everything. They'll still say he's guilty. Why? Because A, they don't like Conor Benn, or B, because he's a matchroom fighter. Some people just want him to be guilty because of those reasons. Some people have agendas out there. I'm sure there's YouTubers out there as well who will just try and make up an excuse that he's guilty no matter what. Why? Because they have an agenda. Even though they'll say, we really, really hope that he's clean. We really hope that he hasn't done anything. And we really hope that he gets to prove it. For these people, it won't matter what he proves. He's guilty, as far as they're concerned. So, anyway, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.